Hello everybody, this is Refresh and I'm here to bring you a battle between these two Dominaria decks and the Face the Hydra challenge deck from Theros. For these games we'll be using two hero cards. The first one is the Harvester, which lets you tap to draw a card, then discard a card. And the second is the Warrior, which is tap, target creature you control gains haste until end of turn. Because I only have one of each of these cards, we'll be using them as though both of the players can use them at the same time. We'll be playing on normal difficulty at first with 3 Hydra heads, and then we will go to hard mode. We'll start the game with 7 cards apiece. Chandra draws Gilded Lotus, Forest, Timbergorge, Chandra's Outburst, Pyromantic Pilgrim, Mountain, and Fight with Fire. It's not an ideal hand because it doesn't have many early plays, but we will keep it because it has some amount of promise. Teferi draws Teferi Timebender, Plains, Relic Runner, Knight of New Benalia, Island, Juggernaut, and Island. I think this is a pretty good hand. We have a turn 2 play and a turn 4 play, and it is fairly aggressive, so we will go ahead and take these hands, and then we will begin. Turn 1, Chandra will play a Timbergorge tapped, and Teferi will play an Island, and then we will pass the turn to the Hydra. The Hydra will cast the topmost card, which is grown from the stump. It says, put exactly 2 cards named Hydra Head onto the battlefield from the Hydra's graveyard. If you can't, reveal cards from the top of the Hydra's library until you reveal a head card. Put that card onto the battlefield and the rest into the Hydra's graveyard. Since we can't, we're going to reveal cards until we find a head. There's a Hydra Head, we'll put it onto the battlefield. And now at the end of the turn, the Hydra will do damage equal to the number of heads on the battlefield, which is 4. So each player will take 4, taking them to 16 each. And then we'll use the Harvester at the end of the Hydra's turn. Chandra will draw a card, a Llanowar Elves, and we will discard the Fight with Fire. Teferi will draw a Plains and will discard the Teferi Timebender. And then we will untap. We'll draw. Chandra draws a Baloth Gorger. Teferi draws a Befuddle. We'll play the Forest, and we'll tap the Forest to play a Llanowar Elves. And then Teferi will play a Plains, tap both, and play a Knight of New Benalia. And then we will use the Warrior to give the Knight of New Benalia haste, and we will attack with the Knight of New Benalia. That will kill 1 Hydra Head, and it says, Hero's Reward, when Hydra Head leaves the battlefield, each player gains 2 life. So we'll gain 2 life apiece to go back up to 18. And then we'll reveal 2 cards to see if there are any new heads. There is a new Hydra Head. And then we will go to the Hydra's turn. The Hydra will cast the topmost card, which is Hydra's Impenetrable Hide. Each head gains indestructible until the end of the Hydra's next turn. So we can no longer destroy any heads this coming turn. The Hydra will deal 4 damage. Because it has 4 heads, we'll go down to 14 each. And then at the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Chandra will draw a Mountain, and will discard the Chandra's Outburst. Teferi will draw a Teferi Sentinel, and will discard the Befuddle. And then we'll untap. We'll draw. Chandra draws a Timbergorge, and Teferi draws an Island. We will play an Island. We will play a Mountain, and then we will tap these 3 to play a Pyromantic Pilgrim, and we will tap these 2 to play a Relic Runner. The Pyromantic Pilgrim has haste, so we will tap the Warrior to give the Relic Runner haste as well, and then the Llanowar Elves and the Relic Runner will hit a Hydra Head, and the Knight of New Benalia and the Pyromantic Pilgrim will each hit a new Hydra Head, killing 3 Hydra Heads, and giving us 6 life apiece. We'll go back up to 20, and then we'll reveal 6 cards to see if there are any new heads. Alright, there are 2 new heads. We have a Ravenous Brute Head and a regular Hydra Head. And then we will pass the turn to the Hydra. The Hydra will cast the topmost card, which is Swallow the Hero Whole. Each player exiles a creature he or she controls until the Hydra's next turn. When a head leaves the battlefield, return the exiled cards to the battlefield under their owner's control. We will exile the Relic Runner, and we will exile the Llanowar Elves. And then at the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Chandra will draw an Elfheim Druid, and Teferi will draw a Gideon's Reproach. We will discard the Gideon's Reproach, and we will discard the Timber Gorge, and then we will untap. We'll draw. Chandra draws a Gitu Chronicler, and Teferi draws an island. We will play a Plains. We will play a Mountain. Oh, we should have taken 4 damage from the Hydra head, so we're actually at 16. And then we will cast a Juggernaut. With Teferi, we'll use the Warrior to give the Juggernaut haste. And then we will attack the Ravenous Brute head with the Knight and the Pyromantic Pilgrim, and a regular Hydra head with the Juggernaut, killing both of them and giving us 4 life apiece, and then drawing us a card, taking us all the way back up to 20, drawing a card from the Ravenous Brute head's Hero's Reward trigger, which will get us a Forest for Chandra and a Plains for Teferi. And then we will reveal 4 cards to see if there are any new heads. There's 1 new Hydra head here. And then, because a Hydra head left the battlefield, we will return these 2 cards to the battlefield under their respective owner's control. And then we will cast the Elfhelm Druid over here, and then we will pass the turn to the Hydra. The Hydra will cast the topmost card, which is another Hydra head. We will take 3 damage from the remaining heads to go back to 17. And then at the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Chandra will draw a Pyromantic Pilgrim, and then we'll discard the Gitu Chronicler. Teferi will draw a Meandering River, and we'll discard the Meandering River. Then we'll untap. Then we'll draw. Chandra draws a Forest. Teferi draws an Aether Glider. We will play an island. We will play a forest. We will tap 5 mana to play the Gilded Lotus, which will tap for 3 red mana to play a Pyromantic Pilgrim. And then we will attack with both Pyromantic Pilgrims and the Knight of New Benalia to finish off the 3 remaining heads. That will net us 6 life apiece to go up to 23 each. And then we'll reveal 6 cards to see if there are any new heads. There is 1 Ravenous Brute head. Oh, the Juggernaut needed to attack too. So we'll say it attacked into one of the heads, and then we'll unattack with the Knight of New Benalia. We will tap everything and play the Teferi Sentinel, which gives the Relic Runner unblockable, but it doesn't quite matter. And then we will pass the turn to the Hydra. The Hydra will cast the topmost card, which is a Savage Vigor head. It says at the beginning of the Hydra's end step, reveal the top card of the Hydra's library and the Hydra cast that card. And then when it leaves the battlefield, we'll gain 4 life apiece and draw a card each. It is now the end step. We'll go ahead and cast another spell before the Hydra makes the next move. It's Distract the Hydra. Each player may sacrifice a creature. Each player who sacrifices a creature this way chooses the head and taps it. Each player who didn't sacrifice a creature loses 3 life. Right now we're ahead, so we'll go ahead and lose 3 life apiece to go back down to 20. And then we will take 3 damage from the remaining heads to go back down to 17. And then at the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Chandra will draw a Forest and will discard a Forest. Teferi will draw a Joyous Familiar and will discard an Island. Then we'll untap. We'll draw. Chandra draws a Bold Pyromancer. And Teferi draws a Sparring Construct. We'll play a Plains over here and a Forest over here. And then the Juggernaut and the Knight of New Benalia will attack the Savage Vigor head, while the 2 Pyromantic Pilgrims will attack the Ravenous Brute head, killing both of them and getting us 6 life and 2 cards apiece. We'll go back up to 23. And then we'll each draw 2 cards. Chandra draws a Fire Elemental and a Mountain. Teferi draws a Meandering River and a Joyous Familiar. And then we will reveal 4 cards to see if there are any new heads. There is a new Hydra head. We will, in our second main phase, cast 1 Joyous Familiar, which says historic spells cost 1 less to cast. That means that the Aether Glider costs only 2 to cast, so we'll go ahead and cast the Aether Glider as well. And then the Sparring Construct costs 0 to cast, so we'll go ahead and cast the Sparring Construct as well. Chandra will tap out as well. And the Elfhelm Druid, using the Kicker mode to cast a Baloth Gorger Kick, which comes into play with 3+1/+1 counters, making it a 7/7. And then we will pass the turn to the Hydra. The Hydra will cast the topmost spell, which is Disorienting Glower. Players can't cast spells until the Hydra's next turn. Now that I remember, it seems like I missed way back where we cast the Hydra's Impenetrable Hide and it had indestructible. I would guess that I killed heads that turn, even though I wasn't allowed to. So there is a bit of a rules error, but it's a little bit too far back to unwind. Alright, the remaining head will deal 1 damage to us, taking us down to 22 apiece. And then we'll use the Harvester. Chandra will draw a Fiery Intervention and discard a Mountain. Teferi will draw a Knight of New Benalia and discard a Meandering River. And then we will pass the turn to our turn. We'll go ahead and untap everything. To make up for the error that we made in the past, we're just going to pass this turn as though we didn't and can't do anything and let the Hydra have a free turn. The Hydra will go. The Hydra will cast Unified Lunge, will take X damage, where X is the number of heads on the battlefield. That's 1, plus another 1 from this Hydra head, taking us down to 20 apiece. And then at the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester again. Chandra will draw a Forest. Teferi will draw an Island. We will discard the Island, and we will discard the Forest. And then we will go to our turn. We'll untap. We'll draw. Chandra draws a Gift of Growth, and Teferi draws a Befuddle. We will attack the remaining head with a single Pyromantic Pilgrim, killing it, getting us 2 life apiece, taking us back up to 22. And then we'll reveal 2 cards to see if there are any new heads. There are no new heads, and so the Dominaria Planeswalker decks win the day. We'll be right back for Game 2 on Hard Mode. Now it's time for Hard Mode. We're going to be playing against 4 Hydra heads, and we will begin with 7 cards apiece. Chandra has a Shivan Fire, a Forest, Chandra's Outburst, Karplusan Hound, Timbergorge, Forest, and Mountain. It's not great because we don't have the ramp component of the deck, but it is still 2 playables and a Shivan Fire, and hopefully we can draw into what more we need. Now for Teferi. Teferi has a Temporal Machinations, Relic Runner, Meandering River, Zahid, Djinn of the Lamp, Relic Runner, Gideon's Reproach, and Plains. The 2 lands will get us to cast the Relic Runner, so as long as we draw more lands, this hand is okay to keep. So we will do so. And then we will begin the turn with a Timbergorge and a Meandering River, tapped both, and then we'll pass the turn to the Hydra. The Hydra will cast the topmost card, which is Hydra's Impenetrable Hide. Each head gains indestructible until the end of the Hydra's next turn. I think that should be fine. And then we will take 4 damage apiece from the heads to go down to 16. And then we will use the Harvester. Chandra will draw an Elfheim Druid, which we will keep, and we will discard the Shivan Fire. Teferi will draw a Island, which we will keep, and we will discard Gideon's Reproach. Then we will untap, and we will play a Forest over here, and we will play a Island over here. We'll tap both of these and play the Relic Runner. And then we'll tap both of these and we'll play the Elfheim Druid. We cannot kill any heads this turn, so there's no point in attacking. We will hold, and then we will pass the turn to the Hydra, who will cast the topmost card. The topmost card is Hydra's Impenetrable Hide. Each head gains indestructible until the end of the Hydra's next turn. So again, we cannot do anything to the Hydra. We're going to take 4 damage again to go down to 12. And then we will use the Harvester. Chandra will draw a Pierce the Sky and discard Pierce the Sky. Teferi will draw a Plains, and then we will discard the Relic Runner. Then we'll untap. We'll draw. Chandra draws a Llanowar Elves. Teferi will draw a Knight of New Benalia. We'll play the Plains. We will tap 2 mana and play the Knight of New Benalia. And then we will play a Mountain. We will tap 4 mana and play the Karplusan Hound. But because the Hydras are indestructible, there's no point in attacking this turn, so we'll just hold off and we'll pass the turn to the Hydra, who will cast the topmost card, which is a Hydra head. Now we'll take 5 damage from the assembled heads to go down to 7 apiece, and then we will use the Harvester. Chandra will draw a Timbergorge, and then we'll discard that Timbergorge. Teferi will draw a Meandering River, and we'll discard the Meandering River. Then we'll untap. We'll draw. Chandra draws a Chandra Bold Pyromancer, and Teferi will draw a Befuddle. We will play the island over here, and we will play the forest over here. We will go to combat, and we will attack 2 Hydra heads with the Knight of Dominaria and the Karplusan Hound, killing them, getting us 4 life apiece, taking us to 11. And then we'll reveal 4 cards to see if there are any new heads. And then on the second main phase, we will cast a Llanowar Elves over here, and we will cast nothing over here. We'll pass the turn to the Hydra, who will cast the topmost card. That is Unified Lunge. We're going to take 3 damage, plus another 3 damage from the remaining heads to take 6 damage, taking us to 5 apiece. And then at the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Chandra will draw a Forest, and will discard the Bold Pyromancer. Teferi will draw a Acer Glider and discard the Befuddle. Then we'll untap. Then we'll draw. Chandra draws a Pyromantic Pilgrim. Teferi will draw a Teferi Sentinel. We will cast the Pyromantic Pilgrim over here. It comes into the battlefield with haste. We will also cast the Aether Glider over here. We'll give the Aether Glider haste as well. And then we will attack with the Pyromantic Pilgrim, the Karplusan Hound, and the Knight of Dominaria to kill all 3 remaining heads. They'll die. We'll get 6 life apiece to go back up to 11. And then we will reveal 6 cards to see if there are any new heads. There is a Ravenous Brute head and a Hydra head. And then we will pass the turn to the Hydra. The Hydra will cast the topmost card, which is a Swallow the Hero Whole. Each player exiles a creature he or she controls until the Hydra's next turn. When a head leaves the battlefield, return the exiled cards to the battlefield under their owner's control. We will exile the Llanowar Elves, and we will exile the Aether Glider. We'll take 3 damage from the assembled heads to go down to 8. And then at the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Chandra will draw a Forest and discard Forest. Teferi will draw a Meandering River, and we'll discard the Teferi's Sentinel. And then we'll untap. And we'll draw. Chandra draws a Karplusan Hound. Teferi draws a Aether Glider. We will play the Meandering River tapped. We will play the Forest. We will attack the Ravenous Brutehead with the Knight of Dominaria and the Pyromantic Pilgrim, and the remaining Hydra head with the Karplusan Hound, killing them both, getting us 4 life and 1 card each. We'll go back up to 12, and then we'll draw a card each. Chandra will draw a Timber Gorge, and Teferi will draw a Plains, and then we will reveal 4 cards to see if there are any new heads. There are 2 new heads, a Hydra head and a Ravenous Brute head. And then, because heads left the battlefield, we'll return the Llanowar Elves, and we will return the Aether Glider. On our second main phase, we will tap these 3 lands and cast a Temporal Machinations, bouncing the Ravenous Brutehead back into the Hydra's hand, which causes it to leave the battlefield. And we'll gain 2 more life and draw a card each again. Chandra will draw a mountain. Teferi will draw an island. We will reveal 2 cards to see if there are any new heads. None. And then we will cast Chandra's Outburst, dealing 4 damage to the remaining Hydra head, and then it will die. We will get 2 life apiece to go up to 16 each. We will reveal 2 cards to see if there are any new heads. There are no new heads. And so with that, it will cause Chandra to go back into her hand, but it doesn't matter because we have won the day. Let me know what you thought about these battles in the comments below. If I made any errors that I did not catch, let me know, both in terms of rules and play, and I will strive to become better at this in the future. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. If you'd like to see more such videos, hit subscribe. I'll be back next time with a battle between these 2 Dominaria Planeswalker decks and the Battle of the Horde challenge deck from Born of the Gods. Until then, this is Refresh, and thanks for watching.